All right. Hi, Matthew. How are you? Introduce yourself.
Pretty good.
Tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from,
Sure.
whatever, all
Matt
that stuff.
is the name. I come from a little town called Esperance. Recently moved to Perth and am studying to be a primary school teacher.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Now, on to the questions. The first one is: do you see yourself as a writer, and why or why not?
Well, probably not a multiple trilogy of books writer, but I would say I would see
Hmm.
myself as a writer.
Yeah.
Just I see myself as quite creative, and I think it is a skill I have. I'm good with words and with implementing my ideas on the page. So yeah, I do think I'm quite good at writing, and I would call myself a writer.
Very good. How did you develop this perception of yourself in relation to writing? So, how did you develop this idea of whether you're a good writer or you're not?
Well, I think I developed this mainly just through the different mediums I've taken in over time. So that's like movies I watch, TV shows, books. Like I said, I'm quite a fan of Tolkien.
Hmm.
So like Tolkien's work, like how he describes things and builds world, and doesn't just sort of just go, all right, well this was a random field. He like explains what the field is, a bit of history behind, and everything, just to layer it. So that kind of thing, and just more complex pieces sort of has meant that I am more of a I do think more in depth and think things a little bit differently and look at the world a bit differently. But also, like, I think my dad was a major influence, being a pastor and doing a lot of, sermons and different things and writing, and just different cultural stuff that he's brought to the table. And then obviously, teachers and stuff like that have helped to develop it. But yeah, basically, like with anyone, I'm a compilation of my experiences in life and
Hmm.
what's molded me there. Like so. Yeah, I'd probably say like that's the main thing.
Very good. So when you go to write, essay writing, creative writing, whatever, what kind of processes do you go through?
I don't think. Look, I don't go the traditional route when it comes to process. It's probably not the greatest, but I don't do. I don't really do plans a whole heap. I'll do maybe a rough one, just sketching down the main ideas. But I think uh, I mostly will do my introduction first and sort of get my ideas from there. Um, but like, I do probably a fair bit up in my head. Like I'll just brainstorm, bounce ideas off my girlfriend or friends, sometimes my dad, and then just go from there. I think but like yeah. But probably the other thing is probably I'll have a look into the back story of things. So I'll probably have a look like if I'm writing something, I'll have a look a bit into the lore of characters. Like I did a short story on Odin in a journal writing piece, where we had to just sort of, write something based on a character description um, based on someone we seen in a coffee shop. And so then I had this little idea. I was like, oh, I'll do something like that, something a bit different than just doing exactly what I see. Give the guy a bit of a backstory, and then obviously to do that, I want to have a look at some of the stuff that's happened that in the mythology and stuff like that. So I think I do like researching. So I do a fair bit of research, even in my free time, of different things from TV shows to movies to all sorts. So I think I do have some processes. There is some process to the madness.
So you talk about your conducting research and obviously your journal writing.
Yeah.
It was. Um, so what would be the kind of like standard normal things that you would write about? Like what would you most write about?
Um, Look, I probably like talking about what I like writing.
Or and like or least, what do you write
Yeah,
least?
yeah.
Those
And
type of
probably least is the things that are sort of a bit more like just straight facts and to the point. So like I'm
hmm
having to do a report essay at the moment and designing like timetables and stuff like that. I probably don't like that as much. Or things when I don't have as much of a word count to be able to describe things. I like being able to describe things a lot. So I probably prefer essays sometimes. Like I enjoy a good essay depending on what it's about. but probably mostly I like creative writings and fictional stuff. It's probably more of my forte, the more things that I like. So yeah, that's probably what given that's mostly what I listen to when I listen to audiobooks or different things. I quite like that. So yeah.
Oh, very good. So obviously going off all that and like how you've been developed as a writer, what do you personally think creates a good writer or makes a good writer?
I think a vast wealth of experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like you become probably a better, like as much as like it's based, you become a better writer with age purely because of the fact that you've learnt more in terms of being able to write stuff. Like a 5-year-old is obviously not as good a writer as someone who's 12, but it's also just down to life experiences. If you've experienced more, you've got more of something to draw from. And I feel like one of the most important things, obviously you've got your different things like being able to read and write, be literate and understand different texts and all these different things. But I think like also, yeah, just having a wealth of emotion that you can draw from and put onto the page, because I think the best mediums in writing and in anything from movies to TV shows to songs, audiobooks, whatever, comes down to the person's emotion, how they can get that on the page. So I think that's important. But then also just, I think I've talked about it with you a couple of times, vocabulary. Like,
Yep.
if you have a limited vocabulary and only learn a couple, like a handful of words, it definitely limits your writing ability. Whereas if you have read a couple of different things and well versed in expanding your vocabulary, you can do a lot more and you can describe things a lot better than you would just with a couple of simple words that you use over and over again.
So if you were to say that in dot point form, like what kind of skills and knowledge a good writer needs, you would go vocabulary.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else would you go?
Like I said, I think you have to have a bit of creativity to you. Yeah. I think you have to have experience and a wealth of knowledge.
Perfect. Yeah.
I said so, life experiences.
Yeah.
Basic ability to read and write, like I said, like that. Yeah. And use of conventions and different modes. But I think those are the main things. And then, yeah, I think are just passion, heart, and soul, the things that make us human that you can put onto the page. So ability to connect with your emotions is massive.
Yeah. Oh, very good. So, excuse me. And again, there's the burger coming back up from there. So back to you personally. So obviously we talked about developing a writer completely and what you see as developing a writer. Back to you. What do you think best supported you throughout your development as a writer? Please excuse us.
Please excuse that. I think obviously, like I said, my experiences is a massive part. Like, so obviously growing up in Australia, I've got different ways of looking at things, and probably a little bit more lighthearted than say someone who's come up from a stiff upper lip background in the UK. You know, like
do you think that do you think your teachers that were part of that process? Like,
I think teachers are a massive part of the process as well. I think depending on what your experiences with schooling, I think primary school molds us more.
Yeah.
Because that's where you first get your first ideas with a lot of things. Right. And so I feel like, I had a handful of different teachers that really sort of helped me, not only in creative writing, but also in just other forms. Like, so it's like just like whether it be like designing business slogans or putting forth a project or, ways in arguing your point to get it across or to, like say you want to have a proposal, be able to get that across in a way that's sort of concise. I think the fact that they also made a way in order to connect that to my life and stuff that I can do, so I can see myself in the course was a massive help, as opposed to some of the teachers which really just phoned it in a bit and just read off the sheet and picked a handful of books that they thought were important to them, but didn't really look at whether they were actually good for people my age or, what the class was interested in.
So what do you reckon that they specifically did or didn't do that has affected like your confidence as a writer? Are you a confident writer?
I would say I'm a confident writer.
So
I would say mostly the passion and belief in me, but then also the belief in their own work. Like, if you're happy and you believe in your work and you're excited to teach people and see them progress, you're naturally not going to do the usual stuff of just reading for a textbook and you don't really care. Like, you're going to want to put stuff in the work that sort of makes sure that students engage.
Yeah.
So I think it comes back to, there's a big difference between teachers that do that.
Perfect. All right, well, that'll wrap it up. Perfect.
So easy.
There we go.